All right, welcome everybody to this Channel Vision Magazine webinar featuring our good friends at APX Net. In this presentation, we'll learn all about its unique network monitoring and management platform, INSITE. I'm your moderator, Brady Hicks, the managing editor for Channel Vision Magazine, and joining us is your host for today, APX Net Partner Acquisition and Operations Manager, Oliver Maxwell. How you doing today, Oliver?
Doing well. Thank you very much, Brady.
I'm very excited to sit and hear everything that you guys have to say. Okay, enough from me. Let's turn it over to Oliver Maxwell.
Thank you so much, Brady. All right. Welcome, everyone. Oliver Maxwell. Pleasure to meet you all. I'm pinch hitting for Jeff Wood, our CEO today. He's down hard with the flu. I think he's not the only one around here, but I'm excited to host for you guys today. Very excited to tell you a little more about INSITE, our network monitoring platform. We have the expert, the man himself, Jeff Moss, who's going to walk you through a demo. But first things first, I know a lot of people on the webinar today may not know a whole lot about APX or maybe newer. So I'm going to do just a very quick 1,000-foot view of APXnet and what we do, and then hand it over to Jeff for the INSITE portion. So let's dive right in. Yeah, who is APXnet? At the end of the day, we are a data provider, and we specialize in dedicated services delivered over fiber optics. What that means is we are a DIA specialist. That is our bread and butter, and we very much stick to our own lane. We're not trying to sell the whole stack. We really just focus on what we're good at, which is DIA. One of the biggest differentiators of APXnet and one of the things that makes us special is that we do type 1 DIA circuits only. And I'll go in a little more on why that's important and the benefits and kind of how that sets us apart from other aggregators, wholesalers in the space. And just to be clear, we don't own a network. We're a pure aggregator wholesaler, and we don't sell voice or anything like that. We are purely data driven. Some target markets, just when you're out, out in the market, we really focus on that medium, large, and enterprise customer. Large and complex networks are our specialty. That's where we can really shine and bring the most value. And that's also where INSITE, this monitoring platform, is going to have the most value. Multi-location customers, that's where we really do well. Just in general, clients that can never go down. That's kind of our specialty. We sell in all 50 states and Canada. We actually have a really strong Canadian presence, and we're privately owned, debt-free, and founded by industry telecom executives. Quick touch on what we offer. DIA, you'll hear me say it again, but that's the main thing. We can do SD-WAN as well, SD Internet, as well as private lines. We're actually very competitive when it comes to EPLs, point-to-points, things of that nature. And then wide area networks, so Ethernet, MPLS, we can do that as well. You'll see there 10 meg to 100 gig. It's really whatever our underlying carriers can provide, we can quote it and sell it. Redundant last miles and long haul planning. That's something that we do really well for some of our larger customers who maybe have some unique builds. We've got ones that have primary, secondary, even tertiary connections. We help design all of that with our sales and engineering team so they can be up all the time. I want to touch very quickly on type 1 versus type 2 because it's something we push a lot and stress a lot. And if you're really into selling network, you may know all about it, but others don't. And so type 1 basically means the ISP and the last mile provider are the same. And APXnet, we believe very strongly in that's important. And as a result, we won't even quote a type 2 circuit. We'll no bid it. So you can be comforted in that, if you're selling, say, for example, if you're buying an AT&T circuit from APXnet, it's not going to be Lumen providing the last mile. It's going to be AT&T as the ISP and AT&T as the last mile provider. The advantages, one, it's faster. Usually our average, we're saying 30 to 40 days. We typically say 45 on average, but sometimes we'll see as quickly as 1 to 2 weeks for an install. You've got one network, so you're not having a lot of finger pointing where, let's say there's an issue or it's an outage. You're not going to APX, who's then having to go to AT&T, who's blaming it on Lumen or whoever's providing the last mile, none of that. So we bypass that entirely. It's all going to be under one network. And as a result, you get low latency. Having type 2 circuits adds latency. The SLAs aren't as good, and there's just this finger pointing that we try to avoid. So that is one of our biggest differentiators. And if there's, other than INSITE, if there's one thing you walk away from today, it's to know that APX, we do DIA and we do type 1 circuits. I want to touch on a couple of very quick case studies just to kind of showcase what we do and what we do well. So this is a global energy leader. They're based out of Europe. And this was a really interesting one because they came to us. They asked for a quote. We came back with over $1 million in non-recurring charges in construction, thinking that they would, laugh. And instead they said, okay, where's the paperwork? So that sort of kicked off the relationship, and we've been able to get sites that were literally over 100 miles away from fiber connectivity for windmills and other energy plants they have in the US and Canada. And the way we're able to do that is by leveraging our carrier relationships. We're really big with a lot of these carriers. We have hundreds or thousands of circuits with them. So we have a lot of clout and are able to throw our weight around and help get special builds and planning involved. And we're also able, for some of these sites, to do fixed wireless for them as well. So it's DIA, and we could also help get wireless microwave connections where needed. Another great example, this is a financial services leader called a bank. They've got 270 locations across the country. And when they came to us, it was really a hodgepodge. They had sites with some with cable, some with DIA. They didn't have IT staff on site at these locations, so when there was an outage or a problem, it was really problematic. And they were having to have one poor IT guy or a small group that, would have to try and address all these internet issues for all these sites. And the billing was a nightmare, as you can imagine. 270 locations across the US. I mean, call it 10 plus carriers that you're having to deal with. It was nightmarish. So what we were able to do is come in, get dedicated internet for all 270 locations, flat rate the pricing for all the locations so they always know what to expect on the bill, of which there's one now, get type 1 DIA at every single one, and just have one hand to shake for all their needs. So if there's an issue at any one of those 270 sites, they can call in. We can see exactly what's going on, know who the carrier is and who we need to go after. And it's now, they call us all the time adding new sites. So we're very proud of that customer. A couple smaller ones, even though we do focus on that medium and large enterprise, we do single sites all day long for DIA. One example is a whiskey producer. I've actually got a bottle of them on my shelf right now. But it's just a single location, 100 meg DIA. And you know what? They'll probably never outgrow that circuit, but that's okay. We give them great service. We give them an accurate invoice, and they're very happy with us. This is a safety can manufacturer. You can actually find them on Amazon. They make fantastic gas cans if you ever use one. Again, 2 locations. They had 50 meg of DIA at each. And their issue was that their invoicing was always wrong. It was driving them batty. Even just with 2 locations, their ISP was giving them wrong invoices. And that's what we were able to fix for them, is basically be a customer service organization that can go to bat for them, give them an accurate invoice, and just know that they can get a human when they call in for help. Just very quickly, I want to touch on our platinum carrier partnerships. We're extremely competitive with those carriers. So just to kind of get the gears turning, if you have any customers in those kind of areas where AT&T and Verizon, we have very competitive pricing, and we're able to navigate all that red tape, which, with a big company like that, you can get a lot of, and that's kind of our specialty. Just some others to kind of keep in mind. These are gold carrier partnerships we have, some big ones across the US. And then some others. I mean, a lot of these are more local or regionalized, but we work with over 200 across the US. So if you can think of it, we can probably do it. And we're very flexible. If it's a new carrier we haven't worked with before, we're always happy to go out and try and get an agreement and make something happen. And then I touched on Canada earlier, but this is a really strong suit for us. A lot of carriers don't have a lot of good Canadian relationships. These are a few of the ones we work with in Canada. Telecom in Canada moves a little slower, so there is usually a little bit of a longer lead time on construction and things of that nature. But we are happy to help take over that and kind of be the bulldog for you on Canadian opportunities. Last, Last thing I want to touch on is you've heard me talk a little bit about the invoicing. This is really big for us. I mean, a single invoice for all your locations. That you're going to hear from multiple wholesalers, aggregators. I think what you're not going to hear, and something that we really pride ourselves in, is that every single invoice, we manually review it before we send it to the customer. The way we're able to do that is we don't do all of our invoicing at the same time, for every customer. It kind of rolls across the entire month. So we have someone in billing who physically, manually reviews every invoice before it's sent out. As a result, it's scary accurate. We're really proud to say we just did our company kickoff last 2 weeks ago, and we found in a review that for every the thousands of circuits we have, last year we had one invoice that required an adjustment, a single invoice. For partners, for agents, whatever you want to call it, that's huge, right? You're not going to have your customer coming to you complaining that their invoicing and billing is wrong. And that also, as a result, our commissions are very accurate. Not something you're going to ever have to chase down and wonder where your money is or anything like that, because our invoicing and our billing is accurate. Just quick key takeaways. Data only. We're DIA. We only do type 1 circuits. And multi-site, that's where we really shine. That's where we can show value. Being able to aggregate different carriers, have it all be on one bill, one place for support, and also being able to see all of those in INSITE, which is what I'm going to go to here in a second. So INSITE is our monitoring platform. Really, the purpose of it is to be a single pane of glass just for your customer to be able to go in, see all of their sites, see if they're up or down, and depending on the flavor of monitoring they get, be able to also have help either reactively or proactively fixing any issues with their network. Things to look out in the marketplace, very simply, if you're kind of hearing these things from your customer, they're having trouble with network visibility. They've got a bunch of sites, they don't know what's up, multiple carriers, a lack of a centralized tool for all their circuits, and a staff and skills gap, kind of like what I was talking about with that bank, where they might not necessarily have an IT person at every site who's able to be the expert on that. The great thing about INSITE is that someone who's not even a super technical person or an IT person can easily log in and see exactly what's going on at each site. And that's it for me. I'm going to pass it over to our INSITE guru here, Jeff Moss.
I'll go ahead and take it from here, and thank you for that overview. So team, thank you for the time here. Appreciate you guys wanting to learn more about APXnet, and more specifically right now, the INSITE network monitoring and network management platform that we'll be talking about over the next few minutes. And so before I dive into the actual platform itself, I want to give you an idea of what actually powers this platform. So it's a very powerful tool set. It's really an enterprise-grade tool set that we built to really package at a small to medium business type of price point. So the way we do that is we brought together 3 key pillar technologies, including ServiceNow, Logic Monitor, and Sisense. So you may have heard of these in the market. These are really Gartner Magic Quadrant leaders in the top right quadrant. And so ServiceNow is our ITSM, it's our CMDB, it's the ticketing engine, and it's also the infrastructure the INSITE platform is built on. Logic Monitor is our RMM. It's our remote monitoring and management tool set. Essentially, it's our data and analytics polling engine. And then lastly is Sisense, which is our advanced analytics and reporting engine that incorporates some AI ops and machine learning. So it's a really powerful tool set that I'll be showing you guys here over the next few minutes. And also, before I dive into the actual platform itself, this is our technology catalog. So what Oliver has been talking about primarily is DIA, transport, connectivity. And so absolutely we can monitor and manage all of that. But as you get deeper into your customer's IT stack, we can also monitor all of these different technology types within your customer's network. So there's a lot of upsell opportunity to be able to provide not only the connectivity, but also the monitoring and management of both the circuits as well as the devices like routers, firewalls, SD-WAN appliances, anything with an IP address, we can monitor it here in the INSITE platform. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the actual platform itself. And so this, what I'm sharing with you here, this is the landing page. So when your customers log in to the APX INSITE platform, this is exactly what you're going to see. And not only is it powerful from the technologies that power it, but it's also carrier and equipment agnostic. So what's great about that is you can get all of your circuits through APXnet, but we also understand that you guys are going to, or your customers rather, may have circuits with other carriers. They may have, you know, the Lumens, the Verizons, the AT&Ts, whoever it may be that you sourced either for them or that your customers already had in their environment. The great thing about INSITE is you can bundle this on to existing networks. So all of your APXnet source circuits will have some flavor of monitoring or management with it. But the great thing about this, guys, is you can layer this on to your customer's existing network. So there's a lot of opportunity there to consolidate. Being agnostic, it makes it so your customers don't need to work with multiple network operation centers. They don't need to juggle multiple tool sets. We can consolidate that all into a single dashboard and into a single NOC. 24/7 by 365 support globally from a network perspective. So with that being said, like I mentioned, this is the landing page. And when you log in, when your customers log in, this is what they're going to see. They're going to have a network map. The network map identifies the health, the network health of that location. So is that location up or green? Is that location hard down or red? Or is that location in what we would call a degraded state, which would be yellow? And a location would be in a degraded state in, let's say, an SD-WAN environment where you have more than one circuit, or if we're monitoring multiple devices, device types, and or circuits at a location where one or more of those devices or endpoints go down, but we still have connectivity to that site would be considered degraded. And anytime we're in a degraded or a down status, if we're doing proactive monitoring, we're going to automatically detect that issue. We're going to notify you and the customer simultaneously about the outage, what's going on. And at that same time, one of our NOC analysts is going to receive that case or that ticket. We're going to triage it, and then we're going to work through a custom procedures run book that's specific to the end customer to work that issue all the way through to resolution. And again, that's 24/7 by 365. So as soon as you log in, you and the customer is going to get a really good understanding of how is the network performing. And then as I'm starting to dive through the platform here, you'll see a little bit more information about what the customer will see as well. Before I dive in a little deeper, want to delineate kind of the two different flavors that we have, or three different flavors. We have reactive, we have proactive, and then we have really full management, which would encompass the devices as well. So from a reactive perspective, reactive meaning, you know, if the circuit goes down, the customer lets us know, and then we start tackling that issue all the way through to resolution. That's flavor number one. Flavor number two would be proactive circuit management, meaning we're going to be proactively pinging that circuit, that IP address, and when we detect or we do not get a response from that circuit, we're going to automatically create a ticket notifying the customer, and one of our NOC analysts is going to pick that up and start working that issue through to resolution. The third flavor would be our full-blown management, which is going to include the circuit as well as the device it's terminating into. So that could be an SD-WAN appliance, that could be a router, firewall type of device. And in that scenario, we're going to be constantly pinging both the circuit and that device. So if one of those items go down or stop to respond to monitoring, we're going to proactively notify the end customer, create that ticket, and then start working with both the carrier and or manufacturer or any other third parties that are within your customer's network to start troubleshooting and mitigating that problem. So a few different flavors that we're able to offer you guys based on what your customer is looking for, what that network design looks like, and help really act as a true extension of the end customer's IT team to help fill in those gaps and allow that customer, their team members, to focus on the core business. Let us focus on the network-related troubles, and the customer can now focus on their core business. So From the landing page here, you have the network map. You'll also see a breakdown of inventories of active devices and circuits that we're monitoring. From a ticketing perspective, we follow ITIL. ITIL is essentially the global standardization of ticket management. So within ITIL, we grade our tickets on a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being an emergency and 4 being non-business impacting. So very quickly, as soon as you log in here, you're going to see what and how many business critical cases or tickets are active on our account on the network. And then lastly, over here would be if we're monitoring any cellular connections, which we all know can be important because cellular often ties back to a metered connection, which if we're on cellular on a metered connection can get costly pretty quickly. So we want to know when those are active so we can help get the main circuits back up and get that cellular connection back down to get that metered connection to stop. So from here, from the main screen, if you notice as I hover over the map, you can click into any one of these locations individually, or you can just come right over here to the locations tab to pull up a list format of all of your sites, where you can also then filter down based on its status, city, state, and country as well. So every site here in the end customer's network will be listed out. And as an example, if we click into this Cisco branch, what we're going to be monitoring at the location level is going to be every device and every circuit at that site. So if you notice here, these two devices, these branch routers are hyperlinks, which will, if we click into, will take us into some performance information. But before we do that, you notice directly underneath each device, we have the circuit that's terminating into that device, and we identify its health status of both the device and the circuit. Over here on the right-hand side is going to be a breakdown of the recent ticket history. So over the last about 6 months, how many tickets have been generated at this site? We break it down by the service type that was impacted, who the service provider was, and how long that issue lasted and why that issue occurred. So very quickly, within one click of logging in, you can get a really good understanding of not only the performance of the whole network, but also the performance of a specific location. As we continue on here over to the hardware tab, this is going to provide a full inventory of every device that we're monitoring on the network. And as you notice, as I click through here, you see a lot of different logos, most of them probably pretty recognizable to you all. But again, we are completely agnostic from a manufacturer perspective. So any device that's IP enabled within your customer's environment, we can monitor it, we can report on it, and we can help mitigate problems when they come up. And before I dive into the individual devices themselves, I'm going to move over here to the circuits tab. The circuits tab, very similar to the hardware, it's going to provide a full inventory of every circuit on the network. And you notice here we have APXnet circuits, but we also have other carrier providers as well. So because we're agnostic, of course, we would love for you to get every one of your circuits from APXnet, but we understand that might not be the reality. And some of the customers that are either prospects or new customers for you, you may be positioning different carriers, or they may already have other carriers in the network. And the great thing about working with us and our INSITE platform is you can provide monitoring and management of any circuit within that customer's environment. So you're able to sell into your end customers without necessarily selling them all of the circuits or all of the equipment in their network. You can still leverage a single NOC and a single platform to provide that single dashboard, single NOC to your customers, which will provide a much improved experience for the customer in the long run. And you'll notice here on the circuits tab, with each device that's linked to the circuit, we have hyperlinks that will take you directly into that device. And before we do that, I'll show you a couple last things before we dive into the performance visualization within the platform here. So I mentioned the case or the ticket engine is really powered by ServiceNow. ServiceNow, it's really the leader in the ITSM space. If you have customers that have ServiceNow or have other internal ticketing engines, we can work with them to integrate into their existing ticketing engine to be able to provide bilateral ticket updates, which makes an even more enhanced customer experience. So just real quick, I want to show you really how simple it is for you and or the customer to open up a ticket. I'd say about 95% of our tickets are proactively opened, but you can come in here and open your own tickets as well. And it's really simple. You'll notice it's really a matter of following the drop-down boxes, identifying the location, the device, the circuit, add a subject, add a description, and then add any attachments or screenshots and submit that. And when you guys submit that case, that's when it kicks off that workflow, meaning whoever submitted that case is going to get notified. One of our NOC analysts or platform operation team members will pick up that case, triage it, and start working that issue all the way through to resolution. And to show you an example of a ticket or a case, we try to set this up to be as simple and as familiar as a text message, meaning on the right-hand side is going to be any customer-related notes, also any system auto-generated notes. So if you notice here on the right-hand side, the ticket is opened by Josh Jerry on the customer side. And then over here on the left-hand side, we have all of our NOC-related updates, as well as any carrier-related updates here on the left-hand side. So again, back and forth like a text message. And the way it works is when the ticket generates, you're going to get an email notification. And when the ticket closes, you'll get an email notification. All of these notes during the life of the case will live here in the ticket. And for the individual customer, if they want us to enable anytime a note is added here to be emailed, we can enable that for the individual customers as well. So we try to make this very simple, easy to navigate. Like Oliver mentioned at the beginning, you don't need to be technical to be able to navigate through this platform. The last couple pieces I'll show you guys in here, one is the reporting engine. So the reporting engine is very powerful. We have a lot of pre-configured reports that you can see here. And a couple of reports I'll show you guys and highlight real quick. Usually a lot of value to both partners, advisors, as well as end customers. This is our managed inventory health report. As you guys likely know, working with your customers, sometimes knowing what's on the customer's network can be a challenge. They either are juggling spreadsheets, sticky notes, whatever it may be. And so what we've done is we've built this into a single report. And all of our reports, including this one, can be exported into an Excel file, a PowerPoint, a PDF, however you want to consume it. And what you'll notice here is we have every device on the network and also identifying is it up or down. And then right here down below, we have the same report for all of the circuits on the network, identifying circuit IDs, IP addresses, bandwidth, who the carrier is, you know, stuff that it may sound simple, but many customers have a challenge, you know, aggregating all this information together. So a very powerful and handy report for both partners and customers. And one other report I'll show you guys is our stewardship report. The stewardship report, this is something that typically an MSP or a partner would share with a customer on like a QBR type of meeting. So maybe every 3 months. And what we were constantly being asked is, I want to see this data in real time. So that's exactly what we built available for you and your customers. So this report, you can come in here and modify the time period to see whatever dates you want. So you can really do like a real-time QBR. And if you notice, as I update the dates, the report refreshes very quickly. And what this report, the stewardship report is showing is really how has the NOC and how has all the carriers and devices that we're monitoring, how have they performed over this predefined time period? So how many tickets were opened at a site? What are my chronic sites? Who are the chronic carriers? So we can plan accordingly for those if we need to make changes, you know, when necessary. So there's a lot of very powerful information in here that allows your customer to, you know, forecast potential issues, identify trouble in chronic locations, and make sure we work together to alleviate those problems in the future to just make and streamline that customer experience to make it that much greater. And now the last piece, guys, I'll show you is the Logic Monitor component within the platform. So the Logic Monitor component, again, this is a very powerful tool set. This is our RMM, and essentially what you are getting and when you get our proactive monitoring and management service with INSITE is you get a full Logic Monitor license. So Logic Monitor could be similar to a SolarWinds, could be similar to like a Datadog. Many of your customers today are utilizing some sort of RMM. It's just a matter of to what level. And so by partnering with us, by leveraging our INSITE platform and solution, it can really help eliminate some of that spend that your customer has with other technologies, because we can consolidate it all into this single source here. So when you access the Logic Monitor piece of the platform, you'll notice here we land on this reports page. So there's the reports I just showed you, the inventory, the stewardship, but now we have some additional reports related to performance metrics and overall the different devices and circuits that we're monitoring within the customer's network. Also within this, you'll notice here we have this add functionality. So we have the capability for your customers and for you guys to create custom reports. So if for whatever reason these pre-configured reports don't have the data points that you guys need or your customer needs, we can work together, or your customers or you guys can come in here and actually create your own custom reports to be able to expand on the data points that your customers find important to them. And so just to navigate through here just a little bit, this again is going to provide a full RMM tool set. And there's a lot to unpack in here. So by no means is this call meant to be a deep dive into the Logic Monitor tool set, but I do want to show you, there's a lot in here that by partnering with us, by leveraging our INSITE platform and solution, you get a really powerful tool set, integrating the ticketing engine, the RMM tool set, as well as reporting, all into that single pane of glass. So there's a lot of capabilities here within the platform. And ideally, as opportunities come up, we'll hop back on together. We can do a deeper dive demo with yourself, with your customers. And, bringing us in, we typically find when you guys engage us on a demo, we have over an 85% close ratio. So, bring us in on these opportunities. Let us help you with the circuits. We'll assist with the monitoring and management, and we will all win a deal and support your customers together. And so with that being said, I'm going to pause there. That's really a quick overview of the INSITE platform here. And, pause, pass it over to Brady for opening it up for questions.
All right. Thank you, Jeff and Oliver. Really interesting stuff. Before we get to the questions, Oliver, would you be able to tell people where they can go if they want to get more information?
Yes, absolutely. I would just say reach out to your channel manager. If you don't have one assigned, please just reach out to us after the call. You can reach out to me at maxwell@apxnet.com. That's probably the easiest way. And I'll make sure to send out contact to all the attendees as well.
All right, perfect. Now, a bunch of questions came in during the presentation. I'm going to do my best to get everything answered. I just want to clarify, first of all, Jeff, the network map updating, that is in real time then?
Yes. So great question. So as long as we are proactively monitoring the circuit and or device, that network map is going to update in real time. So if we're pinging the circuit, pinging the device, and it goes down, that green indicator is going to change to either yellow or red. It's going to change to red if that site is hard down. An example would be we have one circuit at that site, that circuit goes down, that indicator is going to go red. If we're monitoring more than one circuit and or device at that site where one of those go down, that color indicator is going to change to yellow or degraded. So as long as we're proactively monitoring the device and or circuit, the map will update in real time. If we're providing reactive support, meaning the circuit goes down, we're not actively pinging it, the end customer would need to just reach out to our NOC either by the phone or by submitting a case in the portal. For reactive, those sites are always going to showcase as green, and that's because we're not actively pinging it. But yes, as long as we're proactive on the ping, the map will update, the colors will change in real time.
Okay, fantastic. And obviously you answered my next question, which was going to be, well, obvious to me anyway, about the reactive and the proactive monitoring. Both are certainly acceptable.
Yes. Yes, and so and I'm happy you brought that up, Brady. One thing to delineate with the proactive and the reactive is an individual customer would need to be one or the other. We're either a reactive customer or we're a proactive customer, meaning we can't mix and match, like I want these sites as reactive and I want these sites as proactive. It's either that customer is going to be a proactive customer or a reactive customer.
Okay, fantastic. How are devices monitored from LM? Are you deploying like collectors in the customer environment?
Great question, Brady. So there's a few different methods for connectivity. So we can absolutely deploy a collector, which would be a logic monitor collector. That is not a requirement, though. So there's other methods of connectivity, which would include an IPsec VPN tunnel. We could ping a public static IP address. We could do FQDN. So it really depends on the customer's environment, the complexity, and what level of monitoring we are providing. If we're going to be doing circuit-only monitoring and management, we can just do a public static IP address. So we don't need a collector. If we're going to be monitoring an MPLS type of network where it's completely private, we're going to need to do the collector. So that's something that during the sales process, during the meetings that we would have with the end customer and or partner, we would uncover that. We'll talk through that, have any kind of technical discussion that may be necessary, but that would be something that would be different by customer because we have multiple methods of connectivity.
Okay, fantastic. Now we're obviously talking about a really powerful platform here. What would you say, what are some things apart from what you mentioned maybe that sets INSITE apart from competitors?
Yeah, so that's another great question, Brady. So the biggest thing is the technology that powers the platform, the fact that we're both carrier and equipment agnostic, and then most importantly is the people behind the glass. So there's a lot of competitors out there. They have similar type of tool sets, but we've been doing this for a very long time. We work with pretty much every carrier within the United States and many of them globally, and we know how to effectively mitigate, triage, troubleshoot, and resolve network-related troubles. So like I mentioned, or I don't know if I did mention, but we monitor tens of thousands of locations and circuits and devices around the world. So we have a lot of experience with quickly and effectively getting that circuit and or device back up and running as quickly as possible. So it's a kind of a three-tiered approach. The tools, the fact that we're both carrier and equipment agnostic, meaning we can monitor it all. And then the people behind the glass are very experienced. We have about, today, I think the latest count is about 80 to 85 NOC analysts that have eyes on glass around the clock on customer networks, mitigating problems around the clock.
Great. Would you be able to expand maybe on some of the security measures that you had talked about that INSITE offers?
Sure. Yeah. So again, we're primarily a NOC, not a SOC. So we're not a security operations center, but to that point, we can monitor those security appliances like the Fortinet devices, the Meraki's, things like that. And so not only can we monitor those, we can also assist with the engineering support on those, the staging and configuration of those devices, the deployment of those devices. But from a security perspective, all of the technologies I mentioned, the ServiceNow, the Logic Monitor, the Sisense, are all SOC 2 compliant, making our INSITE platform SOC 2 compliant as well. So it's a very secure environment. We monitor a high percentage of the Fortune 100 and Fortune 1000 type of clientele. So we have deep dive security conversations with IT teams, security teams of customers of all shapes and sizes globally. So when security concerns do come up, that's something where we can talk through with the customer, with the partner. We'll bring in our security team to help lead those conversations with the customer, to help put any kind of security issues or thoughts or challenges, put those at rest.
No, that's fantastic. Jeff, I remember you talking pretty early on about the agnostic nature from a manufacturer perspective. I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So the customer can move all circuits to a platform, even if just some of them are with APX?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so Brady, that's a great question. This is where probably the biggest opportunity lies specific to INSITE is so you can go to any of your customers and position INSITE for monitoring and management of not only the circuits, but the other devices within their IT stack and essentially kind of sell it as a standalone. Of course, we want you to bundle that with our circuits, but we understand that can't always or isn't always the case. So if you're positioning APX circuits, you're positioning, just circuits and network refreshes, network upgrades in general, you can then also position INSITE to monitor, of course, the APX circuits, but the other circuits within the environment. And that includes dedicated internet, MPLS, broadband, satellite, wireless, any connectivity method, any carrier, we can monitor and manage it as an extension of the customer's IT team.
And bundling is always a good idea. Just ask Patrick Mahomes about that.
Yeah.
What about a typical install time frame, maybe for like a dedicated circuit?
If we're talking DIA, if going back to just the core APX services, our average is around 45 days. It's not typical. Sometimes it could be as fast as 1 to 2 weeks, but we, on average, is about 45 days since we only quote Type 1 circuits.
Yep. And to expand on that, Brady and Oliver, from a monitoring and management perspective and onboarding of that service, if we're doing the circuit, we'll get that turned up, in line with when that circuit is turned up. So if you get a circuit from APXnet, by the time that circuit is up and running, it will also be active in monitoring. So that they run in parallel. But if we're going to be positioning INSITE, let's say, into a new logo customer, and we're going to be monitoring the network and all of their circuits, and there aren't APX circuits involved, that standard turnaround would be between 30 and 45 days. And the biggest piece, the biggest factor is within that, Brady and team, that's going to be based on the data collection and then establishing the connectivity, which again would be the collector, IPsec VPN tunnel, public static IP address, FQDN, whatever it may be. But that's something that we work in tandem with the end customer during the onboarding process to define what those milestones look like, define that onboarding time frame to align with whatever their schedule is. So, but if you're getting the circuit, we will have the monitoring and management of that circuit active by the time that circuit is handed off to the customer.
Okay, great. Just two kind of non-technical questions, I think, to close it out. This person wants to know about the technology catalog specifically that we just saw. Is that available on the website or anywhere else where they can kind of find it and look through it themselves?
That is something, that's a great question. I am not sure if it's on our website, but it's something we can get on our website, and it's also something we can get out to the group. So as we follow up with everybody here on the call, we can provide that to you, because that technology catalog, to that point, Brady and team, it's very powerful. Of course, the primary component of INSITE is going to be monitoring of the APX circuits, but we go much broader and wider than that. And when we show that slide to end customers, it really, you can see the light bulb go off in your customer's mind as you're talking through it. Because if we can monitor all of this that's on that technology catalog slide, we can absolutely effectively monitor and manage the circuit and those devices it's terminating into.
Okay, and it is really smart stuff. So it's just fascinating to me. The last question that I really had was about pricing. Maybe a customer's looking for a dedicated internet access. Like, how much would something like that cost?
So the price for DIA Type 1 can vary quite a bit, just depending on the bandwidth, et cetera. But if we're talking about the monitoring piece, that's going to look roughly from $20 to $50 per circuit, depending on the flavor they go with. And we can, if you have an opportunity, please come to us and we can figure out exactly what the fit is and price it out accordingly.
Okay, that sounds great. And yeah, no, that sounds great. So definitely everybody be sure to check out APXnet and the contact information that Oliver provided earlier. That is going to do it for the webinar portion and for the Q&A. So I'm going to close that off. I want to thank both you guys, APXnet, Oliver Maxwell, Jeffrey Moss. Thank you for the time. It was really insightful.
Thank you, Brady.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brady, as well.
Of course. I also want to remind you all that if you missed any part of this webinar or other Channel Vision presentations, they're all available on demand if you go to channelvisionmag.com. So be sure to visit that, channelvisionmag.com. And of course, stay tuned with APXnet and all the great things that they have going on. But that's going to do it. Now, from all of us at Channel Vision Magazine, for our good friends with APXnet, take care. Bye-bye.